The static called my name before I realized it was static. It came slow at first, like breathing through broken glass, whispering from the old transistor I kept in my garage. I thought it was a trick, maybe interference from the power lines or bleed over from a dead station. But when I unplugged the radio, yanked the batteries, and it kept speaking anyway, that's when I stopped pretending it was just noise. It knew me. I found the old radio buried under a pile of junk while cleaning out the garage last week. A 1976 Sony TFM 8000W multiband, heavy enough to kill a man. All brushed aluminum and cracked leather handle. I was planning to strip it for parts, maybe flip it to one of the vintage nuts online. But I wanted to see if it still worked first. I twisted the tuning knob, sweeping through a wash of dead air, and somewhere between 1620 and 1650 kilohertz, I caught it. A tight, crackling hum. Not music, not a weather update, just a presence. The hairs on my arms lifted instantly, and then it said my full name. Not a coincidence. Not some garbled mess I could pretend was just interference. My exact full name, middle name included, in my own voice. I snapped the power switch off so hard I cracked the plastic, but I couldn't stop thinking about it all night. Maybe it was an AM prank, some rogue ham radio operator playing with voice recordings. It's not impossible. Tropospheric ducting can bounce weird signals hundreds of miles if the humidity and temperature gradients are just right. Old man Murray next door used to talk about picking up Mexican radio stations clear as a bell during monsoon season. That's all it is, I told myself. The next night, I turned it on again. Nothing but dead air for hours, until midnight. First came the tone, a hollow, droning emergency broadcast beep. Not quite the standard 1050 hertz sine wave you hear during tornado alerts. It was warmer somehow, closer, then the static, then the voice. Don't turn it off. This time it wasn't even trying to imitate me. It was deeper, slower, like something dragging itself through a throat not made for speaking. I threw the radio across the garage, watched it smash into the concrete, splintering into 3 sharp pieces. Problem solved. That night, I heard the voice again, but not through any radio. Through the dead TV in the living room, through the broken stereo in my car, through the speakers on my powered-down laptop. It would crackle once, just once, like a dying breath, then whisper something low enough to make my teeth ache trying to understand it. Listen, I stopped sleeping. I started recording. At first, the files just caught blank space. Then a low, static hum, like a microphone brushing against wool. Then, last night, I caught it clearly. Recording transcript, 2:34 a.m., 11.2 seconds. Noise, 4.2 seconds of background static. Voice, 0.2 seconds. He's almost ready. Noise, distortion, spike. Voice, 0.6 seconds. Just keep whispering. I don't remember sleeping after that. I remember the knocking, though. Soft, steady, coming from the dead TV. You can break a device. You can't break the air. That's what I realized after I smashed the radio, pulled the wires from the back of my TV, ripped the speakers out of my car. The voice didn't care. It found me anyway. It was never about the machines. They were just the easiest mouths to borrow. Now it was using the walls, the pipes, the empty space between my ears when I tried to sleep. It started small, a faint ticking behind the drywall at night, like mice chewing insulation, only rhythmic, deliberate. Then the voices layered themselves, soft, shuffling murmurs beneath the hum of my refrigerator, breathy syllables rising from the sink drain when I brushed my teeth, static cracks in my cereal as I poured milk. None of it made sense, not at first, until I started recording everything. I wired up cheap directional mics around the house, piezoelectrics, borrowed off an old ghost hunting forum, hooked them into an 8-channel Zoom recorder, let them run through the night. Next morning, I scrubbed the files. Most were junk, but mic 6, the one pointing toward the living room window, caught something, an almost human whisper, stretched so thin it snapped in and out of range. You don't belong. You don't belong. You don't belong. Over and over, like a prayer recited too many times. Then something new. Not my name this time. My address, street, house number, zip code, and a word that froze my lungs when I heard it. Inside. That afternoon, I drove across town, parked outside a 24-hour diner, sat at the corner booth and watched the street. No devices, no radio, no phone, no laptop, just me and a dead-bolted mind. For the first 3 hours, nothing happened. Then, at 2:11 a.m., the waitress refilling my coffee stopped. Her eyes glazed, her mouth hung open for a second too long. Then she leaned down and whispered, almost mechanically, "You left the window open." I didn't pay. I didn't grab my jacket. I ran. When I got home, the house looked normal. Lights off, doors locked, no signs of entry, but the bedroom window was open exactly 1 inch, just wide enough to hear a voice whisper through. I slammed it shut, latched it, pulled the curtains, and then, because I had to know, even if it killed me, I replayed the day's recordings again. There it was, buried deep in the static at exactly 3:17 a.m. He's almost ready. Bring him through. He's starting to listen. At 4:30 a.m., I caught the first glimpse. Not a voice, not a sound, a figure, standing in the kitchen, reflected in the microwave's dark screen. It looked like me, but the head tilted wrong. The mouth was too wide. The hands hung too low, the fingertips almost brushing the floor. It stared straight at me through the reflection. I turned around. Nothing there. Turned back. The reflection smiled. Wide enough to split the skin across its cheeks. I don't remember the last time I heard silence. Not real silence. Even now, typing this, there's a thread of static behind every sound. Woven into the buzz of the fridge, the scrape of my fingernails on the keyboard, the beat of my own pulse behind my ears. It's inside everything now, including me. I tried everything. I left town. I smashed the house's power grid. I smashed my car stereo, my laptop, my phone. I even checked into a remote motel 2 states away. No electronics. Cash only. The owner gave me a real key, old brass and heavy in my hand, and a smirk like he already knew I wouldn't last the night. The room was musty, wallpaper peeling in strips, TV gutted, just an empty cabinet. For a while, it worked. For 4 whole hours, there was nothing but the low groan of the wind through the broken window seal. Then I heard it again. Not from a device, not from outside. From inside my own mouth, a low, rising hum, vibrating in my throat without my permission. I staggered to the bathroom, clutching my jaw, stared at my reflection in the cracked mirror, and watched, helpless, as my mouth smiled without me. The next transmission didn't come through wires. It came through skin, through sight, through thought. Every time I blinked, the room shifted. The walls grew longer, the shadows taller. Pictures on the wall peeled into static images. The bed pulsed like something breathing, waiting. When I closed my eyes, I could still see, not blackness, but endless corridors of white noise, lined with twisted versions of myself, each one smiling wider, each one waiting to be let in. And the voice, my voice layered 1,000 times, whispered, "You were always ours. You just forgot. Let us remind you." I found myself setting up the recorder again. I don't remember doing it. I only remember hitting the red button. Recording, transcript, final entry, 3 minutes, 41 seconds. First 30 seconds, low static, rising hum. Next, 60 seconds, distorted breathing, layered over emergency broadcast tones. Next 90 seconds, voice begins to fragment. He's ready. He's awake. He's broadcasting. Final 30 seconds, screaming, not from the narrator, but from somewhere inside the microphone. A scream folding in on itself, growing into a deep, endless drone. I tried to destroy the recorder after that, smashed it against the floor, and stomped it into scrap. But when I bent down to pick up the pieces, the tiny screen blinked once, glowing cold blue, and scrolled one final message across the fractured LCD. Welcome back. If you're still breathing, go ahead and like the video. Subscribe if you dare. There are plenty more nightmares waiting for you. And whatever you do, don't forget to ring the bell. It's the only way you'll hear the warnings in time.